You're seriously leaving Mom's birthday party to walk someone's dog? My sister's voice cut through the chatter of the backyard, gathering like a knife. What she didn't see was the encrypted notification on my phone. Emergency board meeting, acquisition offer on the table, $340 million. But how do you explain empire building to people who think you pick up dog poop for a living? The June afternoon was perfect, 72 degrees, cloudless sky, my mother's garden in full bloom. Under the white tent, 75 guests mingled with champagne glasses and carefully curated small talk. I stood by the dessert table in my jeans and sneakers, refilling water bowls for the 3 dogs I brought with me. My mother's miniature schnauzer, my aunt's golden retriever, and Mrs. Patterson's elderly beagle who couldn't be left alone. Natalie, honey, my mother said, her smile brittle with embarrassment. Couldn't you have gotten someone else to watch the dogs today? It's my 60th birthday. Someone else. As if I was just the neighborhood dog walker instead of the CEO of the largest pet care corporation in North America. But I stopped correcting them years ago. It was easier to let them believe whatever narrative made them comfortable. They needed walking, I said simply, running my hand over the beagle's soft ears. My older sister Jessica, married to a hedge fund manager, mother of 2, president of the PT, shook her head with theatrical pity. Walking dogs at 35. Mom, doesn't this worry you? Of course it worries me, my mother said, lowering her voice, though not quite enough. She has a degree from Boston University. She could be doing something legitimate. Instead, she single quotes S. She gestured helplessly at the dogs. Building a career, I offered quietly. Jessica laughed. The sound was sharp and dismissive, honed by years of being the successful daughter, the one who'd done everything right. Natalie, be serious. Dog walking isn't a career. It's what teenagers do for summer money. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I ignored it. My father joined our little cluster, scotch in hand, his disappointment palpable as always. Your sister's right, Nat. You're 35 years old. When are you going to grow up and get a real job? A real job. I'd heard variations of this speech for 8 years. 8 years since I quit my corporate marketing position to start what everyone assumed was a dog walking service. 8 years of family dinners where I was the cautionary tale. 8 years of being introduced as our younger daughter who's still figuring things out. I have a job, I said, watching the beagle lap water from the bowl. Walking dogs, my Uncle Tom said, joining the conversation with the jovial cruelty of someone who thinks they're being helpful. Come on, kiddo, that's not a job. That's a hobby that barely pays rent. I owned a 4-bedroom brownstone in Brooklyn, paid in cash. But they didn't know that because they never asked where I lived. They assumed I had roommates somewhere in Queens, struggling to make ends meet. How much do you even make? Jessica asked, and there was genuine curiosity beneath the condescension. Seriously, Nat, what's a dog walker pull in? $30,000 a year? 40 if you're lucky. My personal salary last year was $8.4 million. This year's projections had me crossing $12 million. But I just shrugged and adjusted the beagle's collar. I get by, I said. That's the problem, my father said, his voice heavy with disappointment. You just get by. You're not ambitious, Natalie. You never have been. You're content with mediocrity. The words stung, even though I'd heard them 100 times before. Not because they were true, but because the truth was so far in the opposite direction that the gap felt insurmountable. My phone buzzed again, and again. I could feel it vibrating insistently against my hip. Your phone, my mother said pointedly. It's fine. It's clearly not fine, Jessica said. Someone's trying to reach you. Probably one of your clients panicking because Fluffy missed his afternoon walk. The table around us cousins, aunts, uncles, family friends all laughed. Good-natured, pitying laughter. Poor Natalie. Still hasn't figured. I repeated quietly. For 60%, Vivian confirmed. You'd retain 40% ownership plus your CEO position. Full operational control. They just want the growth capital and the prestige of the acquisition. Natalie, this values the company at over $560 million. Your stake alone would be worth $224 million. I look back at the party. At my family laughing and drinking under the white tent. At Jessica holding court about her latest interior design project. At my father's distinguished gray hair and disappointed eyes. Schedule the meeting, I said. I'll be there in 90 minutes. Your mother's party will survive without me, I finished. Send the card to the address I gave you, and Vivian? Have the quarterly reports printed. All divisions. I want the board to see the complete picture. I hung up and walked back to the table. The dogs settled at my feet, perfectly trained, perfectly content. 8 years ago, I started with these 3 dogs. My mother's, my aunt's, Mrs. Patterson's. $5 per walk. I'd been so desperate to escape my corporate job that I would have done it for free. But then I realized something. Pet care wasn't a hobby. It was a $15 billion industry that was completely fragmented. No major players, no national brands. Just thousands of independent walkers and sitters and groomers all competing for the same local markets. So I'd built one. Started with dog walking, added pet sitting, then grooming, then training, then veterinary partnerships, then pet supply retail, then luxury boarding facilities, then franchising, then technology integration. 8 years of 18-hour days. 8 years of growing from one neighborhood in Brooklyn to 240 cities across the United States and Canada. Paws First wasn't a dog walking service. It was the largest integrated pet care network in North America. 12,000 employees. 470 franchise locations. Proprietary technology that connected pet owners with verified insured background-checked care providers. Partnerships with major veterinary chains. A subscription model that generated predictable recurring revenue. And my family thought I picked up poop in the park. Everything okay? My mother asked as I returned. Fine, I said. But I do need to leave soon. Of course you do, Jessica said, rolling her eyes. Let me guess, emergency golden doodle situation? Something like that. My phone buzzed with a notification. I glanced down. The quarterly report Vivian had sent me to review before the meeting. The preview showed the executive summary in bold letters across my screen. I should have locked my phone. I should have slipped it back in my pocket, but something made me hesitate. Maybe it was my father's words about ambition. Maybe it was 8 years of biting my tongue. Maybe I was just tired of being invisible. Jessica leaned over, wine glass in hand, trying to see what I was looking at. What's that? Your dog walking schedule? She was close enough to see the screen, her eyes focused on the text. I watched her face change confusion, disbelief, shock. That says 127 million. The conversation around the table stopped. What says 127 million? My father asked. Jessica grabbed my phone before I could stop her. Her hands were shaking as she stared at the screen. This is a quarterly report. For a company called Paws First, revenue $127.3 million. She looked up at me, her face pale. Natalie, what is this? The entire table had gone silent. 75 people under a white tent, all of them suddenly paying attention to the family disappointment. It's my company, I said quietly. Your company, my father repeated. Natalie, what are you talking about? I took my phone back from Jessica's numb fingers. Paws First, I founded it 8 years ago. We're a pet care services network. Dog walking, pet sitting, grooming, training, veterinary partnerships, retail, boarding. We operate in 240 cities across the US and Canada. My mother's champagne glass was frozen halfway to her lips. 240 cities? 12,000 employees, I continued. 470 franchise locations. We're the largest integrated pet care provider in North America. Last year's revenue was $482 million. This year we're projected to cross 600 million. The silence was so profound I could hear birds chirping in the garden. That's impossible, Uncle Tom said finally. Natalie, you walk dogs, we've seen you. You're always with dogs. I like dogs, I said simply. And yes, I still walk dogs sometimes. These three, specifically, because they were my first clients. But I'm also the CEO of a company that's currently in acquisition talks with Pacific Equity, which is why I need to leave. I have a board meeting in 90 minutes to discuss their $340 million offer. Jessica sat down heavily in her chair. $340 million. For 60% of the company, I clarified. I'll retain 40% ownership. My stake will be worth approximately $224 million. My father's Scotch glass slipped from his hand. The crystal shattered on the patio stones, but nobody moved. Why didn't you tell us? My mother asked, her voice barely a whisper. I tried, I said. 5 years ago, I invited you all to our first major expansion event. You said you were busy. 3 years ago, I was featured in Entrepreneur magazine. I sent you the article. You never mentioned reading it. Last year, when we hit 400 million in revenue, I asked if you wanted to see the office. You said you didn't want to drive into the city just to see where I kept the leashes. The words hung in the air like accusations because that's what they were. You just assumed, I continued, that because I started with dog walking, that's all I was doing. You decided I was failing, and nothing I did could change your minds. So I stopped trying. Jessica's face was red. That's not fair, Natalie. If you just explained, I did explain, I interrupted. 4 years ago at Thanksgiving, I told you I franchised the business. Dad said franchising a dog walking service was trying to polish a turd. 2 years ago, I mentioned we secured venture capital funding. Uncle Tom said I was getting scammed. Every time I tried to share my success, you dismissed it. So I stopped sharing. My cousin David, who worked in finance, was frantically typing on his phone. Holy shit, he muttered. Pause First is real. There are articles about it in the Wall Street Journal, Forbes, TechCrunch. Natalie, you're listed as one of the top female entrepreneurs under 40. There's a Wikipedia page about your company. I know, I said. You're a multimillionaire, David continued, his voice climbing. Your estimated net worth is listed as over $200 million even before this acquisition. I'm aware. My mother was crying now, mascara running down her carefully made-up face. Natalie, I don't understand. Why did you let us think you were struggling? I didn't let you think anything, I said, and I was surprised by how calm my voice sounded. You thought it on your own. You saw dog walking and decided it was failure. You saw jeans and sneakers and assumed poverty. You saw me choosing work I loved over work you approved of, and you decided I was lost. I'm not lost, Mom. I've never been more found in my life. A black car pulled up to the curb outside the garden. My ride to the board meeting. I have to go, I said. The meeting can't wait. Natalie, please, my father said, and for the first time I could remember, he looked uncertain. We need to talk about this. We owe you an apology. He paused, struggling for words. We've been terrible to you. Yes, I agreed simply. You have been. Can we start over? Jessica asked, her voice small. Can we support you the way we should have years ago? I looked at my sister. At my successful, accomplished, judgmental sister who'd spent 8 years making me feel small. And I felt something shift inside me. Not forgiveness exactly, but something close to it. Understanding maybe. The acquisition meeting is today, I said. But the celebration dinner is tomorrow night. 7 p.m. at Maria in Manhattan. I'm bringing the entire executive team. You're all welcome to come if you want to meet the people who built this company with me, if you want to see what I actually do. If you're ready to stop assuming and start asking. My mother nodded, still crying. We'll be there. All of us. Good, I said. I leaned down and kissed her cheek. Happy birthday, Mom. I'm sorry I have to leave. I walked toward the car, the 3 dogs following me. At the gate, I turned back one more time. They were all standing now, clustered together under the white tent, looking shell-shocked and small and confused. For what it's worth, I called out. I never needed your approval. But I would have liked your attention. The board meeting lasted 4 hours. The acquisition terms were better than expected. Pacific Equity wanted the Paws First brand, the technology, the growth trajectory. They valued what I built not as a dog walking service, but as a scalable technology-enabled platform disrupting a massive industry. By the time I walked out of the conference room, I was worth $224 million on paper. With full operational control of the company I de-founded in a studio apartment with 3 dogs and a dream. My phone was full of messages from my family, apologies, congratulations, requests to explain everything they'd been too blind to see. I read them in the car on the way home, the city lights blurring past the window, and I smiled. They'd finally asked. Better late than never, I supposed. But the empire I'd built that was mine. Built in silence, born from determination, funded by every dismissive comment they'd ever made. And I wouldn't trade a single moment of it. Not for anything.